So, we have been talking the last 3 weeks about this word called margin. And we're going to talk about it again today, but this morning I'm thinking about this word margin, and I'm realizing how vitally crucial to your spiritual well-being that this word is. If you talk to Adam, or if you talk to any Young Life people, they use the word space. They use the word space to create an environment to give kids space. Well, it's kind of the same thing. So we're going to talk more about space later on when we get there. But let me ask you a question. I don't want any hands raised yet. Who knows of someone, and again, no hands raised yet, I want you to think about it, whose life has been wrecked by sexual sin? I want you to think about it. Okay? And those of you who are first-timers or second-timers, I'm sorry that you got on the money talk last week and we're talking about the other four-letter word this week, but it's just kind of how it goes, and welcome to the tree. Okay, that's kind of how we are. So, who knows someone whose life has been wrecked by sexual sin? Pornography, lust, abortion, sexual disease, sexual abuse, affairs. Ugly words, right? Does anybody say, you know, I think in the next 5 years, one of my goals is to cheat on my wife? Anybody ever said that? No? Anybody ever said, I plan on sometime after high school or after I get out of college to become addicted to porn? Nobody? How about this one? On my bucket list, I want to have sex outside of marriage, get pregnant, and have an abortion, and then just to throw it in for good measure, get an STD on top of it. Anybody? You glad you're here this morning? I'm glad you're here this morning. But it happens all the time. Now, you know how I like numbers. "41% of couples cheat. 41% of couples will have an affair on the other. 70% say that they would if they knew they wouldn't get caught.
Is that married couples?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Numbers could be skewed one way or the other, but that was kind of the common denominator. Yeah. Oh, it gets better. It gets better. So remember, on one of my 5-year goals, it was to cheat on my spouse. 41 and 70. Anybody disturbed so far yet? How about this one? Gentlemen, I'm sorry to pick on you today, but that's just kind of how it is. 50% of men regularly look at pornography. Married, unmarried, 50%. Bothered yet? Anybody want to guess what this one is? Because remember, that was, I plan on getting addicted to porn. Well, you get addicted because you look at it. How about this one? $1.06 million. Anybody want to guess?
Diseases.
No. Remember the bucket list.
Abortion.
Thank you. 2011. Statistics show. I know they're dated, but that's what I pulled from. 1.6 million abortions in the United States. In the United States, performed in 2011. It's disgusting, isn't it? Let me throw this one in for good measure. I was going to save it to the end, but I'll add it now. 2 to 3% of all children come out of infidelity. 2 to 3% of all children are born out of infidelity. You guys know what that word is, right?
Yeah.
Cheating. And those people, I can promise you, those people say, I never thought that would happen to me. Never thought I'd get addicted to porn. Never thought I would have an affair on my wife. Never thought that I would become or I would get someone pregnant and not only discuss but push the fact to get the abortion, because probably I was married and I don't want to have to explain that to my wife. Nobody says, I knew this one was coming. I planned on this. They always say, I didn't think it could happen to me. But you know what they lacked? They lacked this thing called moral margin. Moral margin. Somebody impress me this morning and tell me what the definition of margin is. Okay, fine. Thank you. The difference between what you have and what you need. That's your margin. And it could be a positive or it could be a negative, depending on what you have versus what you need. Anybody want to take a guess what maybe moral margin might look like? Has everybody got their tape? Everybody got tape? Can't play the game if you don't have tape. And our Young Life people are here and they're all about games. So it's a good thing we're playing. Right? Moral margin. Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess what moral margin is? Come on. Not hard.
Difference between what you're blessed with and what you want.
Moral margin. Putting distance between you and temptation. Putting distance between you and temptation. There's moral margin. Let's start this morning by going into the book of James, chapter 1, verse 13.